The world of Gielinor has been a second home for thousands of people for over 20 years. It has evolved, with updates to familiar towns we know and love, to new and exciting places waiting to be explored. Whether you're an old school player or an RS3 purist, there is a lot to love about both games. I have hundreds, if not thousands of hours in both, and I have dreamed of crossing two pieces of content I love together, Runescape 3 and Chunklocked Ironman. The same standard rules apply. One chunk at a time, complete all relevant tasks, and roll a new one once it's complete, only this time in RS3. Our tasks are as follows: 70 wood cutting to chop a yew tree, 60 fire making and fletching to process the yew logs, 27 thieving to steal from the seed stall, and various other shorter but equally important tasks. Meet I'm Chunky, my RS3 Chunklocked Ironman. We test the waters of what it means to be chunk-locked in a 20-year game held up by duct tape and dreams. This first episode will be more of exploring our chunk and gaining a few levels. The woodcutting task will be a bit boring, and you can come chat with me on Twitch and YouTube when I stream around 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. So without further ado, let's look at our chunk. Well, here we are, guys. Oh, I'm so excited. This is awesome. This has literally been something I've wanted to do for so long. And to be able to do it in RuneScape 3, I think is going to be so awesome. So here we are in Lumbridge. For those of you that play old school RuneScape, some of this stuff will look super familiar. But there's some stuff here in RuneScape 3 that differs from old school. And we'll kind of spend a little bit of time here doing some exploration, just understanding kind of what our chunk has in it. And yeah, let's just get right into it. So everything looks pretty standard right now, right? We've got the Lumbridge Castle. We've got kind of the outside courtyard with the church and Bob's store. Let's go into the castle and see what we have. So we've got a bunch of rat spawns. We've got the cook's kind of kitchen. Let's go upstairs and see what we've got. Pretty standard stuff here. We've still got the spinning wheel. There's our boy Duke Horatio. We come up one more level, and we've got a bank. Classic rooftop bank here that you would get in old school RuneScape. But this bank isn't actually as useful as it is in old school. And when we get outside of the castle here, I'll show you why that is. We've got some log spawns here. Again, not super useful as we have access to regular trees. We'll go into the basement here. Let's just see what we have in here. So we should have leather boot spawn, a knife spawn, a bucket spawn, some cabbage, some spiders, a sink, all the typical stuff that we would have over in old school. So nothing new there. We've got the recipe for disaster, dining room. So yeah, nothing crazy here in the castle that's new. The first thing that is specific to RuneScape 3 and is going to be extremely important for our chunk is Jacqueline. So Jacqueline is our starting Slayer Master. Jacqueline's great. Jacqueline provides us with tasks that are essentially just in our chunk. She has things like cows, spiders, goblins. So we'll be able to do quite a few tasks from her. But we could potentially get soft locked out of Slayer from a task that she provides us. She does provide a few tasks that are just to the south of our chunk. So if we get one of those tasks, we'll be soft locked out of Slayer until we unlock that chunk. But I think that's okay. Most of her tasks are within adjacent tiles from us. So even if we have to wait until our next chunk roll, we should be okay with Slayer for the time being. So let's go look at our boundaries. So one of the major differences for a Chunklocked account between RS3 and old school RuneScape is we don't have RuneLight. We have something similar to it called Alt1, but it's not nearly as extensive or useful as RuneLight. It's got things like Quest Buddy, which is essentially Quest Helper. It's got Clue Solver and a couple other utility applications, but it doesn't function the same way that RuneLight does. It doesn't provide us with overlays. It doesn't modify the game in a way that is extremely useful to a Chunklocked account in RuneScape. So we're not going to get boundary lines for our chunks. And because of that, we're going to have to use the images from the chunk picker map to really determine where our boundaries are. So just by looking at our chunk here, it would seem to be that our most southern border here is just in line with this fence, right? So all the way down to the river. And then our western border here is just in a line with this wall right here. So somewhere about here is where our boundary is for our chunk. So this is our southwest corner here, which doesn't give us a whole lot. We've already got access to spiders. These giant rats, I don't think wander over into this area that we could use them for. But when we do unlock the southern chunk here, there's a lot of content that opens up. So that'll be exciting to get into in the future. So let's keep looking around Lumbridge and see what we have. Okay, so we have the bronze pickaxe spawn. This isn't hugely important for us for the main reason that we have in RuneScape what's called our tool belt. When you create a new account, you will have access to all the basic supplies. So any of your skilling equipment, hatchets, pickaxes, knives, tinderbox, all that stuff is already on your tool belt, which is awesome. It essentially means that we're not locked out of any skilling content when we get to a skilling node that we can use at level 1. Let's go check out the church over here. So we have Father Eric here, and he can do a couple things. He's used for quests, and then we can change our gravestone here. Upstairs is a bell that we can ring for an achievement, which we'll get into achievements later. So this house doesn't have a whole lot. It's got a sink. Victoria's here. Upstairs, we don't have a lot either. Let's go check out Bob's shop. Bob is going to be extremely important for this chunk for a couple reasons. One, he provides us tools up to adamant, which is awesome. So we're going to get things like adamant pickaxes, adamant hatchet, battle axes, both main hand and offhand, and then access to some throwing axes as well. But we're not done with Bob's room, Bob's house. Upstairs in Bob's house, we have a safe. And safes are extremely important for our thieving grind. So essentially scattered around the world, there are safes that we can crack. There's 2 in Lumbridge, there's a couple in Al-Kharid, there's some in Varrock, and there's a few other ones as well. But they provide great thieving XP. Unfortunately, they're locked behind a quest, the Buyers and Sellers quest, which we don't have access to quite yet. It's just on the chunk north of us. So once we unlock that northern chunk, we'll be able to access these safes. But for now, they're not too useful for us. So again, our southern border here is basically this path. Anything to the south of this path, we won't have access to. Unfortunately, that means we don't have access to the catacombs. The catacombs are really cool. There's a couple things here. There's a quest that we can do, and then there's access to our first free-to-play boss. And there's also access to some pretty unique monsters in there as well with some unique drop tables. But we won't have access to that just yet. What we do have access, though, to in the graveyard is this yew tree. This yew tree is Essentially, our biggest grind for this chunk requires 70 wood cutting to chop. So it'll play a pretty big role later on in our grind in this chunk. Let's move out to just outside the castle here, and I want to talk about lodestones. The lodestone system in RuneScape 3 is amazing. Think of a lodestone as a home teleport, right? So in old school RuneScape, you have a home teleport. It's on a cooldown, and it teleports you to Lumbridge. Well, in RuneScape 3, we actually have a lodestone network, and all of these locked icons are lodestones. As you go through the cities, you'll find the lodestone, you'll unlock it, and you'll have infinite access to teleport to these lodestones. They're not on cooldown. You can use them at any time, and it's as simple as clicking them, going through an animation here, and it's a free teleport to any of the cities that you have unlocked. It's a really great system. Unfortunately, we're only going to be able to use the Lumbridge one right now, but as we unlock more chunks, we'll unlock more lodestones, and it'll be a great way to travel around. We have one willow tree, which will be where we spend a significant amount of time wood cutting. We also have access to a tree patch, which is really cool. Can't use it right now. You can only interact with it as a member, and I don't have membership yet on this account. I'm kind of holding off until we get to the parts of the grinds that require it. Another really awesome feature of Lumbridge is this smithing area, right? So not only do we have access to a furnace, we also have access to a forge and an anvil and a water trowel. So we can essentially do all of our smithing grinds here. There will be a smithing grind once we unlock the southern chunk, but for now it's a really great place to have unlocked for us in the future. One of the coolest features of Lumbridge in RuneScape 3 is the Lumbridge Market. This area offers us a ton of thieving opportunities as well as supplies. So you'll see that we have access to vegetable stalls, bakery stalls, wine stalls, crafting stalls, and even seed stalls. So this is going to be a great place to thieve from stalls in the future. But by far the best feature of this area is this bank chest. Having a bank chest just on the outside that's kind of central to the chunk is going to be huge for us, especially when we're banking a lot. So it's great to have that bank chest there. Let's go check out the general store. This general store isn't hugely beneficial for us other than it's a place that we can sell things. But we do have some basic supplies. We even have bird snares, which is really cool to have. Over in this house, we have Explorer Jack. So Explorer Jack is used for a couple things, for quests and then also for the achievement system. So when we unlock the ring for Lumbridge tasks, we can pick it up from him. So our western border here is just on the edge of this wall here. So unfortunately, we don't have access to the fishing shop here. So for our northern border, it's going to be just to the right side of this door here. So you'll see that we have access to all these stalls as well. We also have access to this bridge here to get us across to the other side. We'll have access to the old mine. So in old school RuneScape, this old mine would be somewhere over here. And what this is the ham hideout. We have immediate access to the ham hideout once we get membership. There's not a whole lot there. There's some thieving opportunity and some unique drop tables there. But what we do have is some gear for best in slot, such as the leather body. So we'll spend a little bit of time in there as well. We also have access to the cow pen from outside of the fence. So we can range and mage these cows. Typically, that would mean that we don't have access to the drops unless a cow like this wanders outside of the pen. However, RuneScape 3 has a very interesting looting system. We have area loot. So with area loot, the way this works is when we kill a monster and it drops, let's say this goblin drops bones and coins, and we go to pick it up, we'll be introduced to an interface that shows those two drops. And we can choose to take all, we can pick and choose what we want from the drops, but that interface will stay open. With that interface open, we attack a cow, and when it drops, as long as it's in the area radius of the loot table, we will have access to pick up the hides, the meats, and the bones from the cows as well. So we do have immediate access to the cows drops as well. Moving over into the goblin area, this is pretty standard, right? We've got some spiders, some goblins, we've got iron dagger spawn, So nothing too new there. We also have access to some fishing areas that you would see in old school as well. And then for our eastern border, so our eastern border is essentially this entrance into Al Kharid. We don't have a gate. We don't have to pay 10 GP to get into Al Kharid. We just can walk straight in. Hey, so this is future me. What you just saw was something I created about a week ago. And since then, I've just been woodcutting. I don't get a whole lot of time to play, maybe a couple hours a day. So I didn't want to fill the first video with me just woodcutting basically. The tasks in these chunks aren't too big. So I kind of want to knock out these tasks before we actually start putting any major clips into the video. If you want to watch me live knock out some of these tasks, you can join me over on twitch.com/battlekit1, or you can watch on my YouTube channel as well. As of the time of publishing this video, these are my current stats. We're sitting at 53 woodcutting, 30 fire making, and 32 fletching. We did one slayer task for some cows, which got us to 5, which is the max level you can get as a free-to-play. We also got a little bit of levels in magic as well from killing those cows. I hope you guys enjoyed this first video where we explored the chunk, and I look forward to pushing out more videos for you guys. Thanks.